All right, so thank you again, guys, for joining here on this Sunday, July 13th. We're going to start things off in this lesson by pretty much just going over TradingView, some of the common, tools that they have, how they kind of over the layout, how you can use it, and what all these indicators and stuff and what they mean, and how kind of pretty much I have my TradingView setup layout and how I use it on a day-to-day basis, right? I will kick off things by saying that we're not sponsored by TradingView. We're not sort of any sort of affiliation with TradingView. It's just a major trading platform that we like to use, right? And it's a very popular charting platform. I know a lot of big traders, a lot of constant traders that are in the market do tend to use it, but there's a whole wide variety, right? If you're looking for some free resources, there's sites like FinViz, like Yahoo Finance, which provide their own charts. If you're looking for other paid ones, Wealthsimple is also a really good one. Charles Schwab with theirs is also good, but not available in Canada. But a lot of good charting platforms out there. But I think TradingView is one of the most commonly used ones, right? And if you're planning to, be a trader in any sort of aspect, if you're focused on day trading, if you're focused on swing trading, if you're focused on positional trading, whatever it has you, you're encompassing some sort of charting in your platform, right? So I think the two major kind of online tools that every trader needs to have is one is that brokerage account, which that gives you the access to the markets, and also the charting platform, right? And a lot of brokerages also have charting platforms built in, like IBKR has theirs, NinjaTrader has also a charting platform built in. So you can definitely get that kind of two-in-one package. TradingView is kind of a separate thing. It's not a broker, so you can't really give money into your TradingView account and then trade it, but you can link your brokerage to your TradingView as you have it as that kind of secondary charting tool, right? So a lot of uses with TradingView. We'll kick things off by pretty much just going over the layout, right? With any sort of charts, I know a couple of you guys, depending on your knowledge level, if you're absolute beginner, you're like, what the heck is a price chart, right? What are we looking at here? What are these candlesticks? And if you're more informative or if you're more experienced, then you pretty much already know everything that we're going to talk about, pretty much how the charting platform already works. But typically on the layout on any chart, you have kind of your x-axis and your y-axis. Your x-axis is usually your time, right? Usually charting price over a historical period, and you're looking back at the historical period to identify common patterns, common traits, to make sort of reasonable expectations or predictions on what the future price is going to do, right? Based on recurring patterns, based on what you studied in the past of how price action goes, right? So typically on any chart, you're going to see on the bottom end that date, on that time of pretty much of what the price is doing over time, and on the Y scale, you're going to see the change in price, right? So here we have pretty much the SPX, the S&P 500 spot prices, and you can see that this right now is the daily time frame, right? So on the top end here, you can see that you can make a lot of chart adjustments to what you're looking at. You can select the different sort of times that you want to go through in terms of minutes, hours, days, even seconds. You can even go down to the ticks if you want to see, which time frame works best for you. When deciding what time frame to use, it also depends on what your time horizon is for your trades. If you're focused on day trading, then the typical time frames I like to use is I like to start off by looking at like the 4 hour or the 1 hour, getting kind of a broad perspective of what the larger term trend is, and then I'll zoom into like the 50-minute, the 5 minute to kind of get that short term trend, and then I'll use the 2 minute to kind of really pinpoint my entries and my exits, right? And that's just from a day trading perspective. If your focus is on swing trading or longer term investing, then you can start off by looking at say the monthly time frame. You zoom into the weekly, zoom into the daily, and then maybe use your entries based off that 4 hour, right? So on TradingView, it's very cool. You can customize even down to what type of time frame you want to use. You can go down to the minutes, you can go to the seconds, you can even go to the hourly, daily, monthly. So you can really select the time, and you can even add your own custom intervals as well. And there's so many strategies that involve just setting whatever time frame you're using, right? For me, also I like to have multiple charts where I have the different time frames on those charts, right? So you can set, like, say you want one view, but you want to divide it into two. Then you can put on this little symbol here, you can then determine which different types, how many charts you want to see on a single platform, right? So if you want to see two charts, you can put two charts here, and then maybe have different time frames. And here you probably have the hourly. Here you'll have like the 30-minute, and then that can give you more of a broad perspective, and use that as your longer term gauge of what the trend is being established. So a lot of play around with the time frames with those different selections. But you can also select what type of chart you want to see, right? For me, again, I kind of just started my trading journey learning with candlesticks. I find candlesticks to be very informative, and that's how I base a lot of my trading strategy on candlestick patterns and what this information is telling us, right? If you guys don't know, pretty much candlesticks are these bars right here, right? And each candlestick represents a moment in time, and it gives you a lot of information about that time frame, right? It tells you where in that day or in that minute or that hour price had opened, where did it close, where did it reach its highest point, and where did it reach its lowest point, right? So for example, here I have the daily time frame. So if we look at the candlestick for this one example here on July 3rd, it told us that it opened at 6,246, it closed at 6,279, it reached a high of 6,284, and it reached a low of 6,246, all in this day on July 3rd, right? And it also tells you on the volume on that day as well, relative to the other days, was pretty low, right? So it tells you a lot of information just through that single candlestick, right? If you go to the hourly, right, let's see, each candlestick then represent an hour in time, right? So this candlestick here would represent from 9:30 to 10:30, right? And it'll tell you the same thing: when price opened in that hour, where did it close in that hour, where did it reach that high, and where did it reach that low. And that tells you so much information right out of the bat that a lot of traders just use solely that price action, that volume, to then determine their entries and their exits, right? So a lot of information just on these candlesticks. But again, if you want to change, depending on your strategy, there's so many different types of charts out there. You can just select this button here and you can see all the different types of charts, right? Heikinashi used to be a popular one that we used to use to determine pretty much trend, but each one of these is valid in their own right, right? It depends on, again, there's so many strategies out there, there's so many technical indicators out there, and you just have to find one that kind of matches with your mindset, with your psychology, right? And we'll talk about that in kind of the psychology portion, but pretty much there's so many strategies out there, and TradingView provides you with so many different opportunities, right? Point and figure, I feel like, is also a common one that is used by a lot of different traders. So right off the bat, you can see that there's already so much you can do, right? You can select the different time preferences, you can select the different types of charts you want. In terms of other things, you can see again the indicators, right? If you want to have certain indicators that you want to put on your chart, there's a lot of common ones out there, like the moving averages, like your VWAP, like the indicator that we have. TradingView also allows us to code our own indicators, right? Using PineScript, using their coding situation, we can develop our own strategies, and that's where my dad had developed the auto algo, right? And that has been a pretty popular strategy and is working pretty well, as a lot of you guys in the member section will know. So definitely a lot of cool stuff that we can do there. And if you want to apply your own indicators, you pretty much just select the indicator tab here, and you can see a lot of the common ones that are pretty much used by a lot of traders, right? And you can see here, if I just scroll down, there's so many different types of strategy out there. So the goal isn't to get confused and be like, oh man, there's so much stuff out there, I have to apply everything, have to look, see what works. But use a combination of different techniques, combination of different indicators, and then that can provide you with your framework for your entries and your exits. So a lot of different tools out there. Again, a lot of good resources online. If you find something of interest that through your journey that you want to apply to your trading, that you find it beneficial, then quickly do research on it, see how it works, right? Make sure you completely understand how the indicator works, what it's supposed to tell you, what when does it signal buy, when does it signal a sell, and then once you understand it, you can then back test it, and then you can backtest it and then start paper trading, and then slowly start applying it to your trading once you see that it's giving you those profitable results, right? So there's a lot of trading tools out there. If you guys do subscribe to a membership, or if you are part of the members, right, you can see that under the invite only, you'll see that our select indicators are there as well, right? Our algo sniper auto algo, the money profile is all there, so you can access even your only invite only indicators that are available for members, right? So a lot of good tools on the top end there. You also have a lot of tools that you can look on the right here, right? So you have your trend lines. You can have your I don't really use all this other stuff like array, extended lines, stuff like that. I mainly use like the horizontal lines to determine support and resistance, and my trend lines to determine areas of consecutive higher highs, higher lows. And there's so much out there. You can use Fibonacci retracements tool to determine where there's likely areas of pullbacks. I don't really use a lot of these tools. I don't really use, but some of the common ones, you can all check them out that are there, right? So definitely a lot of things you can play around with on TradingView, and it just gives you so much opportunity, right? You can create your own watch list as well. Any stocks of interest, you can quickly just add them. See what you want to search up. Hey, ASM is hitting my buy criteria, I want to add to my watch list. So you can just quickly put it there and monitor that on the side, so you can see what's going on while you're looking at your charts here as well. Another really cool thing about TradingView is you can set alerts, right? You can set, if you don't have time to look at the chart 24/7, you can set alerts to then send you a notification either to your email, to your phone, to can show a notification pop up on the app as well. And then from there you can quickly look, okay, my alert's being set, or what is the price action? Is there volume coming in? Okay, cool, we can take the trade, right? And you can set alerts based on pretty much certain price levels, or you can even set it based off of the indicators itself, right? Let's say, for example, you're looking at SPX here, it's hitting your all-time highs, and you want to know when it's going to cross that all-time high marker. So all you have to do there is go to wherever you want to set that alert, right click, and then it clicks add an alert on SPX at that price point at 62.90, for example, right? So once you click that, then you'll see kind of all these options. You see if when you do want to when price is crossing, going to the upside, going to the downside, right? Typically, I just put it when price is crossing that value, trigger only once, and then you can determine how you want to be notified, right? Do you want to be notified in the app? Do you want to be sent a notification, sent an email, right? Sent it to your specific website if you have like the widget attached. So there's so many different options that you can then play around with, but it gives you really, that signal where you don't have to be looking at every chart all the time, right? If you have on your watch list multiple stocks that you're watching for possible entries, then you don't have to, be bogged down quickly flipping through every single chart. You can set your alerts, put it on the back of your mind, and then refocus onto it when that alert gets triggered, right? And you can also set alerts on your specific indicators, right? So if we kind of go to my other layout here where I have the actually. mm, Actually, I will just do this. So, for example, let's say you have the moving average, right? So this is the 10-day EMA, and you want to know or set an alert when price is crossing below that 10-day moving average because that's when trend shifts, right? That's particularly where a lot of people also put their stop losses will be under that 10-day EMA. So when things start to turn around or go south, you want to know. So all you have to do is then click on that indicator. You can even right click on the indicator, and then it says add alert on that EMA, right? So you can click that, and then same thing, it'll tell you when it's crossing that EMA, it'll send you that alert, it'll send you that notification, and then you can get pretty much a really nice signal there of when price is crossing those short-term averages. So the alerts function here is also really nice on TradingView. So again, make sure you guys take advantage because again, it's impossible. It's impossible to look at every single chart all the time and also keep note of like when all these key averages are where they're holding up, or even if you guys are using auto algo, right, you can just right click on the auto algo, add that alert, and every time the algo goes into a buy or into a sell, you'll be notified of when that condition takes place, right? So if I have pretty much, I'll show you guys here. So this is my pretty much layout for the algo, if it loads. Right, so let's say I want an alert to tell me when exactly the algo takes these signals, right? So then in that case, I'll just have to right click, add an alert on that algo, right? And then from there, it'll tell me whenever that condition is being met, whenever it triggers that buy or triggers that sell, it'll send me an alert, right? And then you can create that. And then you can go back to see, again, what alerts do you have already that are in place and which alerts have been triggered. If you just go to the right underneath that watch list, you can click here and it'll tell you all that, right? So it'll tell you what alerts you have currently that are working, and it'll tell you a log on past alerts that were triggered, right? So these are alerts I currently have in place. I pretty much just have an alert on the ES and on the NQ on the 1 minute time frame for the algo. So when it triggers that buy or that sell, it notifies me, and then I use that as an extra basis, for my trade. But you can then go to the log, and it tells you previously, every time that alert was triggered, right? In case you missed it, right? Another really good feature of TradingView is that it gives you the ability to backtest and really test your strategy before you're implementing, right? And the two ways that I like to backtest a lot of my trades is by taking advantage of this replay function, right? So if there's say a new indicator that I want to test out, or even if you're testing out the auto algo for yourself, right? One thing you can do is use this replay function, go back to a certain day and time, and then just run it and see, what the market does, right? If we zoom here, for example, let's go to the 2 minute. Let's say we wanted to kind of rehearse or practice what market was doing on last Friday, right? All we have to do is hit that replay button, select the bar that we want to go back to. Let's say we wanted to go back to that Monday morning, and then from there we can just run it, right? We can just click that play button. We'll see how price action goes, and then we can see, okay, this is our conditions that we're waiting for. Okay, they hit, and how did price react to when that happened, and then that can lead you to a better kind of study on how your strategy works, right, in a live market, right? So really cool function there as well with that replay. You can also go down to the strategy tester, right? So if we, let me just exit this, right? So if we go back to, sorry, was the question? Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, no problem. So yeah, replay function only comes in like on past price action, right? Obviously, where you want to go back and see how things played out in that day, right? So if you have say a new strategy that you want to test out, then you can definitely go back. So let's say for example, new algo, right? So I'm just gonna zoom in on keep this on one chart. Say let's do the ES, right? Say for the ES, we want to see how that algo performed. You know, say we adjusted the settings, say we made some tweaks to the algo, say you adjusted all those inputs and you want to see how it performs on that day, well, you can then go back, click that replay button, and then go all the way to the specific bar you want to select, right? You can be very specific on the times you set. Say you only want to trade during the regular trading hours. Say you only want to trade during times when the market is volatile, right? During that 9:30 to 11:30 period, or from that 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. period, right? Whatever your thesis is, before you back test, you have to have some sort of thesis in mind. Okay, I'm testing the strategy for this time. We'll see how it works. Okay, does it apply? Does it work good? Does it work bad? Maybe you have to work at a different time. Maybe you have to make adjustments to it as well, right? So it's all about back testing. It's all about developing that strategy, right? So you can go back here. You can set it back to, let's say, the open, so Friday at 9:30, and then just run it, right? See, okay, go. You can even go bar to bar. So if you just hit this button as well, it'll kind of take you bar to bar. You say, okay, look, at 9:30 the algo had hit. So how did they perform? Oh, it actually made us a good profit. Okay, well that's one in the books. You'll write down, okay, 9:30 on this Friday, there was a good trade to the upside, and you can keep going and you can see how it continues to perform throughout the day, right? So that's one way you can use the replay function. And typically when I backtest for several months. I do at least 2 months of backtesting to see how the strategy works, to see what kind of win rate it's giving me, what is the average return I'm getting, what's the average loss, how many ticks before it is hitting my stop loss could then give me insights to, okay, where might I need to adjust that stop. If I'm seeing, most times when I have my stop loss at 10 points, I'm getting stopped out before that move. Maybe that means I have to, move my stop a little bit, be a little more lenient, right? So it's all about forming those hypotheticals, forming that thesis. Okay, I'm back testing for this reason. I want to test this out to see if it works, and either it works and I can apply it to my strategy, or it doesn't. All right, I hope that was a bit clear. There's only a certain amount of candles you can go back testing depending on the time frame that you use, but typically I like to back test at least a month or 2 months before implementing that strategy, right? Okay, so I hope that was a bit clear. Very simple function. Again, you can also in that replay, say you want to buy and sell, right? Let's say like the trigger here hit that buy, so you can quickly submit a buy as well. And this wouldn't be real money. This would just be that paper, and you can see exactly how in kind of real time, if you were to take that trade, how would it play out that day, right? And then you can adjust it, practice your whatever your hypothesis, whatever your thesis is. You can then back test it using actual price action that happened previously, right? So you're not like thinking in hindsight. Sometimes, typically, if this wasn't here, you would see like all this price action already happened, and that sometimes could lead to internal bias, right? Like obviously, it would, I like to say the hindsight trader is always right. Like if looking back at a chart, I could tell you a million reasons why I should have gone long here, but in the moment, it's very hard to make that decision, right? So that's why the replay function kind of helps, because it kind of ignores all this noise, and you can see kind of in real time, real price action, how that trade kind of played out, right? So I hope that was a bit clear. Um, Another really good beneficial way of TradingView that you can backtest your strategy is using that strategy tester, right? The strategy tester here below tells you pretty much going back a certain amount of days, what is your profitability, what is your average return, what is that list of trades that goes on, right? So in terms of this auto algo, again, right now I don't have any of the inputs changed. So again, these results could be very different from how the actual algo performs. But again, just using kind of the default settings here, if you go to the strategy tester, you can see pretty much how the algo performs, right? So I have the auto algo strategy here. So that's the one we want to test, and it tells you pretty much how it performs over a set period of time, right? So let's say for the last week, it'll show you here. Again, this is on the minute, not really tested, no inputs changed, so not actual results, but it shows you pretty much how it performs over a set period of time, over a set list of trades, right? And you can kind of dive deep into it. What is your profit factor? What is your total amount of trades? What is your profitability? And that really helps you determine the strategy that works best for you, right? If you guys, again, I really recommend you guys check out that Leos Mikula, his presentation yesterday. with Trader Lion, he did a really good job of explaining kind of the market intervening concept of having that batting average, right? If you have depending on your batting average, depending on where you cut your losses, where you take your wins, that could really improve your overall trading strategy, right? Be consistent in the longer term. So by studying on the strategy tester, you can really see, okay, what is my batting average? What is my average win? What is my average loss? And then from there, you can develop, okay, is this a strategy that I can implement in real time, right? And once you do all this back testing, it also gives you that confidence that, okay, I actually have an edge in this market, right? And once you have that edge, once you develop off of it, then you can start to, start small, start, enter into positions here like on a slowly basis, right? When I first started trading, started off with the MQ, and then once I gained that confidence, you started, sizing up my positions as well. But again, a lot of cool tools there that you can use to then, back test, and, test your strategy before you implement it, right? So I talked a little bit about back testing, talked about setting alerts, went over the layout. So pretty much the layouts that I use in TradingView. So I have 4 screens that I use, and each of these screens I have something different because that encompasses my trading strategy, my edge, right? I like to look at pretty much price action, momentum, as well as the market internals, right? And a lot of the if your members here with us, you guys already know pretty much how my strategy works, and pretty much you guys already seen a lot of these layouts as well, right? So I'll share these guys with you guys. So if you guys are a member, I will post them in the education channel later today. If you guys want to copy it, put it onto your screens. But pretty much, I have one screen here which I showed to you guys, and this is pretty much the main screen, the ESNQ, right? And on this screen, this is where I'll look at pretty much that price action to see what's happening on that 2-minute time frame. So then I can clearly identify, what my entries and my exits are going to be. So on this time frame, I pretty much just have the ES, the NQ, and then also the volatility indicator UVXY to set it. If you want multiple charts on the same screen, all you have to do is click this top right button here, and then you can select which which setup do you want. Do you want 4 charts, 3 charts, 2 charts? I wouldn't recommend using too much. Again, if you get to 12 and 14, depending on your screens, guys, it could be very small. So max I'd go to is like 3 to 4 sometimes, to just again get most of the data and make it at least more clear to mind. But again, to each their own. You can customize it to whatever you feel is comfortable, but I like to have it at 3 here. And then I just have the main charts that I'm watching for, right? I mainly trade the ES and the NQ on a daily basis, so I have those 2 charts up, and I like to use volatility as a quick gauge to determine if I'm going to get that range in that movement, right? So this is again the main layout I use. The main indicators that I use on these charts, right, is that swing trade, swing high and low, which is a major indicator that pretty much just marks the kind of swing highs, swing lows on these charts to identify key areas of resistance or support, right? If it's a prior swing high, that'll be a key area of resistance to watch for either a breakout or a rejection. If it's a swing low, same thing, watching for either a reversal play or for a break to the downside. I also like to use VWAP, and VWAP stands for volume weighted average price. And VWAP pretty much is a good area also as support and resistance, right? You can see here on this chart on the ES, right, whenever price had hit it from the top side, it was acting as support. Whenever it hit from the bottom side, it was kind of acting as resistance. So I really like to use VWAP and swing on this indicator. And then on the bottom end, I have the momentum, which is the TTM, right? So I'm not going to go into too much detail about all these indicator types, right? If you guys want more information, we can do like a future lesson on that. But there's so many indicators, so many layouts that you can use. So for me on one screen, again, I have the ES and the NQ on the 2-minute combined with the UVXY just to quickly determine what my entries, my exits are going to be. On a second screen, I'll have the main chart. And this is where I pretty much will look at the kind of swing trades, more getting a longer term view of what the market is doing. So typically I have this on the hourly, I'll have on the averages as well as the money profile. And this will kind of give me a broad view of, what that longer term trend is. If we're holding above these key averages, I'll be thinking a bit more bullish. If we're holding below, I'll be thinking a bit more bearish. Seeing what the accumulation distribution is looking like here on the money profile from a longer term perspective. So this is kind of my longer term view of what the general markets are doing. Then on a second screen, I'll have this indicator, right? This is the market internals. So again, if you need to brush up on what the market internals are, I have done many lessons on those as well. So if you guys are a member, you can check out in the Getting Started channel the lesson that we did on market internals. But on these market internals, that pretty much tells me the breadth of the market. What is the internals? What is the, what are the stocks inside the S&P or inside the inside the NASDAQ, what are they doing and how they're operating, right? So pretty good indication there as well. You got your volatility, you got your tick indicator, your volume difference, your ADD, which are also still provided by TradingView, which is really nice to have, okay? Then on a separate screen, I'll have my multiple time frames. I'll have the 50-minute, the 5-minute on the NASDAQ, as well as the 50-minute, 5-minute on the ES. And this is kind of gets me that broader view intraday trend, right? To see, okay, on the hourly, okay, what is that longer term perspective? What is the market set? What is it doing? And then from the 50-minute, 5-minute, I'll see, okay, intraday, are we kind of chopping in between range? Is the 50-minute giving us a bullish indication? Does that kind of coincide with the 5-minute and the 2-minute? Then I'll be more confident in taking a long trade, right? If I'm getting a bit more of a bearish indication on the 5 and the 15, then I'll be more confident on the 2-minute taking those short trades, right? So looking at the 50-minute, 5-minute gives me that kind of broad market view of what the intraday trend is going to be, which gives me more confidence based on my setup, on the intraday, day-to-day by action, right? So again, looking at the multiple time frames, the internals, and then I also have a setup by looking at kind of the major tech names, right? The Meg 7 names. Because we're day trading the indices, right? A large portion of the indices comes from what these Meg 7 names are doing. Like, what is your Tesla? What is your Nvidia moving like? Right? What is Microsoft hitting? Right? Like, for example, this past week, we had, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, kind of getting my days mixed up, but that day where Nvidia hit new all-time highs, we had that euphoria come in the market, right? Where we saw, okay, Nvidia was pushing. We can actually go back here. So again, what day was that? That was on the Wednesday, right? So Wednesday, right out of the gates, markets, had that $4 trillion in mind. Nvidia was getting a straight push to the upside, and we saw that take place in the major exchanges as well. Nasdaq got a major rally to the upside, and as soon as it started to kind of falter off, we got that rainbow pattern that was set up, right? So you can see that some of these tech names do have heavy influence in the market just because of their relative size to the everything else, right? So that's why I like to have on the side as well to see, what is Tesla doing, what is Nvidia doing, what are these major stocks doing as well, to kind of give me better confidence in my trade. If you see Tesla breaking out, and then I'll be more confident taking a long trade here on the NQ. If we're seeing, most of these things are establishing bearish trend, like things like Microsoft or Meta or Google, seeing some major downside, then I'll be even more hesitant on longs. Maybe I'll even think of considering taking shorts, right? So these are different layouts I have. Again, on one screen I'll have the Meg 7. On a separate screen I'll have the multiple time frames. And then on a separate screen I'll have the internals. And I'm looking at all these things pretty much at the same time to then give me that, according to my edge, according to my strategy, those entries and those exits with that high conviction. Okay. And again, all these layouts I will share with you guys if you guys want to have it on your screen. But again, if you guys are a member, you'll see that again when I talk about it pretty much from about 8:30 to about 4:30 when I talk nonstop. I'm constantly flipping through these charts, kind of breaking it down for you guys as well. Okay. So I'll share again all these layouts with you guys. But that's pretty much what I want to discuss about TradingView. Again, very simple to use platform, but it does take a lot of messing around with, a lot of playing around with, to get better used to it. There's also a lot of more resources. If there's anything specific, like you guys want to learn how to use, like a certain indicator, like again, I don't use a lot of these tools. I only pretty much use those boxes as well as, the horizontal trend lines and stuff like that. But if there's anything specific that you guys want to use that I haven't gone over, there's so many resources that are available online that you guys can check out. Okay, so that's pretty much again TradingView. We'll talk a little bit again. We're not affiliated in no way whatsoever with TradingView. So again, if you guys do use it, again, it is a really good platform. It is commonly used, but it is a bit more on the pricier side, right? It is very pricey depending on the kind of platform or the plan level that you use. Typically, if you do get it and you are committed, I would recommend going with the annual plan just because it is a bit cheaper. But I would also recommend wait for a sale, right? TradingView does tend to have a lot of sales. Typically around major holidays like July 4th, I believe they just had one. They have one usually around Easter. So I'm not sure what the next holiday, maybe Labor Day, they'll have a discount, but just keep posted again. For that, I wouldn't recommend again jumping into right away, but once you get that discount or that sale plan, then definitely take a look. It is a very useful platform, and also if you guys do become a member, again TradingView, if you guys want the auto algo, you do need to get a subscription, right? If you don't have a subscription, then we can't give you access to the Algo Sniper because it does require you to have a subscription in order to place that indicator on your charts. And also you would need to have live data, right? So with TradingView, not only do you have to pay for that monthly subscription or the annual subscription depending on what you choose, but you also have to subscribe to market data, right? And this is with any brokerage that you sign up with. In order to get that lifetime data, the brokerage has to pay the exchange in order to get that data in the first place, right? And then they just pass those costs on down to the consumer. So you see here the costs for their packages, right? If you wanted to trade the overall market, depending on what markets you want access to, there's certain different monthly fees that they charge as well, right? So again, that was pretty much TradingView, guys. Again, I know we went over a lot of topics there, but a very good platform that provides with these charts. But if you guys have any questions, anything you guys want to talk about, we can go over. If not, we'll go over to the next topic. All right, cool. So no questions there. So I'm just gonna pause the recording.